Welcome back to Temporal Directive, the Star Trek fan podcast, rewatching the entire franchise in chronological order. I'm Gary.
And I'm Tom.
And this week, we're watching Star Trek Enterprise's Carbon Creek. Star Trek, the ultimate franchise. These are the podcasts of the Wakefield brothers. Their 16-year mission to watch every production, to seek out life lessons and new inspirations, to boldly watch like most fans have watched before. Welcome back, Tom. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good, actually.
That's good.
Yeah.
What's been happening? Anything exciting this week?
Well, nothing much. Getting back into the work life still, which is good because now I'm doing the part-time hours, so I'm pretty relaxed.
Oh, yeah. Last week you were complaining about having to work 5 days.
Yeah.
You poor thing.
I know, it's a hard life. Now I'm doing the 3 days a week. I'm quite happy with that.
Slacker.
But I've been watching a bit of old sci-fi, like not Star Trek, but I've been watching a bit of sci-fi classics. I'm currently watching Planet of the Apes series, the original.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. Fuck, they're good movies.
Did you watch Section 31?
I did watch Section 31, and fucking hell, that thing just needs to be burned and taken off the shelves. Oh my god. That's fucking terrible. I mean, I know you were telling me it was bad, but just, you still didn't prepare me for how bad it was. You're right. There's nothing Star Trek about that movie. I mean, other than the fact you got like a Vulcan and someone who's called what was she? Fucking an
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant. That's it. She was a lieutenant.
Rachel Garrett.
Yeah. That's it.
Future captain of the Enterprise.
Yeah. But still, that's it.
There was Insignia. There was Star Trek sound effects.
Yes, occasionally. Occasionally.
They had transporters and warp drive.
Wow, the warp drive still.
Star Trek, Tom.
Ugh.
It's officially canon.
It's officially shit. It was bad.
Was there anything you liked about Section 31?
No.
Not one bit.
None. There literally was nothing about it I liked. Like, I rolled my eyes that many times I was in pain.
Yeah. Okay, so not a fan.
No.
Okay,
No.
good to know. Well, we get to watch it again when we get to it in the chronology.
Can't we just forget that it exists?
Nope. Part of the chronology.
I would
It's
rather
canon.
watch Star Trek 5. Like,
Yeah.
this was just bad. Just bad all around.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Michelle Yeoh was good.
yeah, but she's good in everything. Like,
And I actually liked the guy that recruited her in.
yeah, well, he's all right. He's in something else too that he's all right in.
No idea.
I can't remember what he's in. I was going to.
And I thought Rachel Garrett was fine too. Like, she was good.
She's also in something. She was in that Magicians show that I like. Fairly certain she's in that.
Okay.
As one of the like rogue magicians.
Okay.
Pretty sure that's her, and she's pretty good in that too. She's a badass in that. We spent too much time talking about it. Move on.
All right, then. This week we are watching Star Trek Enterprise's Carbon Creek. Story by Rick Berman, Brandon Braga, and Dan O'Shannon. Teleplay by Chris Black and directed by James A. Contner. Air date September 25th, 2002. As we mentioned last week, this episode was actually the first episode filmed for the season because of the limited cast that was needed for this episode. This episode was also nominated for a Hugo Award in the category Best Dramatic Presentation Short Form. The episode A Night in Sick Bay which is coming up, was also nominated. But the award that year was actually won by Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode Conversations with Dead People.
Okay.
So, that's not bad. That was a good episode of Buffy.
Which one it was? I'm bad with names now. Was that the one where she was... You go. You tell me which one it was.
No, tell me. Which one do you think it was?
No, that's fine. Because it'll be wrong by 100 miles.
It was in I think the last season, where Buffy talks to all that dead guy in the graveyard.
Yeah. Because he's just like counselling her in the graveyard.
Correct. Yeah. Anyway.
Ridiculous.
That was a good episode.
It was.
The IMDb synopsis for Carbon Creek is, are you ready?
I bet it's going to be great.
On the first anniversary of her assignment to Enterprise, T'Pol tells Archer and Troop about the first contact between humans and Vulcans, which involves 3 Vulcans becoming stranded in the town of Carbon Creek, Pennsylvania in 1957.
Not 47?
No, 1957.
Yeah.
Carbon Creek, not Roswell.
Okay. And wouldn't it be everybody's anniversary if it's her anniversary?
Perhaps. I don't know.
Because it says Enterprise, not...
She wasn't assigned until after, right? She was put onto the ship to help them take the Klingon.
Yeah.
And then she was assigned to Enterprise after that. So she was assigned to the mission.
Okay.
And then she was assigned to the ship.
Right.
I don't know if that's true. I just made that up.
That sounded perfect. But I'm pretty sure she was there from the start.
Yeah, she was there from the start.
Yeah.
But after, everyone else, like the crew was already assembled.
Yeah.
They were ready to go.
Yeah.
So they would have been assigned much before.
Yeah, sure. Sounds legitimate, guys.
All right. Well, let's go watch it.
Righto.
And we're back from watching Carbon Creek. Well, Tom, first thoughts?
I actually didn't mind that episode. It's quite good.
It is Hugo Award nominated.
Yeah, it's very well done. I like when they do episodes that are sort of like that, sort of detached and sort of singular.
One might say episodic, like most of Star Trek.
I meant detached as
Jesus.
not like, where they're separated and they're secluded like that. I like that.
Uh-huh.
Bottle episodes. No.
Oh, dear. Okay.
I actually think I have seen that one before, though.
Oh.
Yeah. So...
Really?
Yeah, I don't know how, because I would never have got there in the stretch of watching the series, because I've no way have I gotten this far ever.
No.
But I'm sure I've actually seen that episode somewhere. So I don't know how.
Maybe I made you watch it years ago.
It may be a possibility.
Maybe I was like, here's an episode you might actually enjoy.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, but it was good. Very good.
All right. We open on the captain's mess with Archer, Trip, and T'Pol. And Archer is pouring T'Pol a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And he says, I didn't think you drank wine. She says, under the circumstances, I'll allow myself a small indulgence. They're celebrating because it's been officially 1 year since she joined the crew. They say that is no small accomplishment, considering that a Vulcan has only ever served on a ship for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And she clarifies, actually 10 days.
Thanks. Yeah.
Archer says that he's been looking at T'Pol's record and noticed that while she was stationed at Sausalito, she took a 5-day leave to go visit an old mining town in Pennsylvania called Carbon Creek. And he says that seems like a very odd place to take a vacation. She says Vulcans don't take vacations. Then what the fuck were you doing there?
Yeah, that's it.
This is when the interrogation starts. She says that she went to Carbon Creek because she wanted to visit the site of first contact between humans and Vulcans. And they argue that that is in Bozeman, Montana.
Yeah, you're
where
a
we
few
saw
thousand kilometres away from that.
Yeah. Yes. And she says, well, actually, Star Trek First Contact was not the first contact. She doesn't quite say it like that, but she says that there were Vulcans that visited Earth long before the official first contact, and that her great-grandmother was one of them.
Yeah.
And then says, would you like to hear the story? And then it cuts to credits.
Which we skip
Very
quickly.
Of course, as always. After the credits, we see a shot of Earth. Sputnik is in orbit.
Yeah, good old Sputnik.
And we see a Vulcan ship approaching. And then we cut to inside the ship and shit is going down. The ship be fucked.
Yeah. They're having a bad time.
Anyway, there's a scene there where they're talking about all the trouble that the ship's having.
Check this, do that.
Yeah,
oh my God,
that's
we're gonna
right.
crash.
And then you see a shooting star of a ship going through the sky, and then it crashes, and there's an explosion, and the captain is dead.
Yeah. Don't forget the great-grandmother looks exactly like DePaul.
Well, family resemblance.
Yeah, family resemblance of identical twins. But yeah.
Are you going to have this criticism when we watch that Voyager episode with Janeway's ancestor?
Yes.
Well, you're a whinger. We cut back to the captain's mess. Archer asks why the Vulcans kept this a secret. And she says, well, it's actually well documented at the Science Directorate and the Space Council.
No one's hiding anything. It's all out in plain view.
On Vulcan.
In a locked cabinet.
Unless
in
you
the basement.
go to Vulcan and know what you're looking for and do a search.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a locked cabinet. In a
But
basement.
It's
Protected
there.
by a lion.
Like, what is wrong with you today?
With a broken light bulb. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, right. Okay. We cut to the past, and the three surviving Vulcans, Tamir, Mistral, and Stron, are sitting around a campfire. They've run out of food. It's been a week, and they pick up two life forms on their scanners, and they go looking for this life forms. And they find two deer.
Yeah.
And they consider shooting and eating one of them. They don't want to resort to savagery.
We're going to die. We're starving to death. Let's just not kill
Let's just not kill
and eat it.
I would eat the shit out of that deer.
Yeah, right? Abso-fucking-lutely. I know
Even if I wasn't hungry. Gee, that was a full breakfast. Oh, look, a deer.
Yes, please.
Venison for lunch, anyone?
That's great. Oh, fuck. You just see Bambi there. Oh, no.
Just jokes. So rather than kill deer and eat meat, because I'm pretty sure Vulcans are vegetarians, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
They decide to investigate the possibility of going into town and finding some food from the people. Mistral says that he's willing to take the risk, so he starts walking off. Tamir tells Strond to stay at the campsite.
Sit. Stay.
Sit, boo-boo. Sit. We cut to a small old town with a sign that says Carbon Creek, and there's old cars driving around and people walking to set the scene. And the Vulcans are sort of behind a tree down in a little impasse kind of thing, watching to see what's going on, just to get a look.
Yeah.
Then they decide that they need to disguise themselves. So we cut to them stealing clothes.
It's a very typical sort of scene, isn't it? Oh, clothesline. We'll just take those clothes.
Like City on the Edge of Forever when Kirk and Spock had to steal clothes. Mm-hmm. So they steal the clothes. They talk about wanting to keep contact to a minimum.
Tamia says that if we must interact, then I will be the one that speaks because she is the boss.
That's it. I will talk. You will shut the fuck up.
However, she is wearing her dress backwards.
Yeah. I am more intelligent. I am smarter than you. I will be doing the talking. Your dress is up backwards.
So then we see them walking down the street. She's corrected her dress. And Mestral has a beanie on that covers his ears.
Also very Spock-like.
Correct. And they see a group of men getting off a bus. They ask if maybe they're prisoners, but they're laborers that work down in the mines. They see a couple of people hanging around a car listening to the radio, and it sounds like they're listening to a baseball game. And Tamia says, some sort of combat, no doubt. And Mestral says, I believe it may be an entertainment.
Well, you didn't hear the that was the music that they use on Vulcan, isn't it?
Yeah. So that doesn't sound like baseball.
for combat.
Yes. They walk over to the Pine Tree Bar and Grill, and they sort of stand in front of the windows and look in and decide they have food, so let's give it a shot.
We'll go.
So they walk in, and there's a pool table, country music playing. Everyone in the room just stops and stares at them when they walk in.
Yeah.
They walk over to the bar where the bartender, Maggie, is getting a customer a drink. The customer comes back later. His name's Billy. And they realize that there's an exchange of currency to get something. So Tamia asks if they have anything that does not require currency. And she says, you mean free? And then she hands them a bowl of nuts that have been sitting on the bar and brings them a glass of water.
Yep.
And there's a bit of small talk about, are you married? Where are you from? That sort of stuff. But they just say they're business associates, that they had a vehicle malfunction just outside of town. Then Billy gets up to play some pool and asks if anyone's up for a game. They're going to place a bet, a quarter a ball. And Maggie's son Jack, who walks past carrying a bunch of books, says he'll play. And Billy says, you better ask your mother, Jack. And she says, no, go upstairs and do your homework. Now!
She's pretty strict on him playing pool. I mean, there's a pool table there, and even when he just wants to play throughout the episode, just wants to play for fun, no money, she's still even like, no, you can't. Just go to your fucking room.
You've got better things to do.
Yeah, like, what, can't just play a game? Like, fuck off.
But Mestral says that he's up for a game. And Tamia says, I told you not to speak.
Get back in your box.
And Mestral says, I can defeat him. He basically says, this is a child's game.
Yeah, that's right. Anyone could fucking
Vulcan
play
kids could beat this guy. She keeps saying no, but he convinces her to have a go.
Yeah, we need money, so might as well.
Might as well give it a go. Or would you rather die of starvation?
But she might have to spend some time with the guy if she loses.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, go on a date with him, have a drink with him.
Gross.
Yeah.
Then there's a montage of them playing pool for quite some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mestral misses a few and then starts to get better. We see all this going and I'm just like, come on. But anyway, after a while, it sort of fades out and then it cuts to a store, like Johnny's Market it was called, and Mestral and Tamia walk out holding bags of groceries. So clearly they want a fair bit of money, enough to buy some food. They make a comment about the TV dinners being cryogenics.
Yeah. Cryogenics.
And then he says, do you suppose they've experimented with protein replicators? And she says, why didn't you ask the merchant? You seemed willing to engage everyone else in conversation.
Burn.
Whoa. Now that is sass for a Vulcan.
That's it.
That is Vulcan sassiness right there.
Yeah. I'm not emotional about it, but geez.
We cut back to the future and Tucker says, I think that wine's gone to your head. And she says, what are you implying? He says, it sounds like you're talking about an old episode of The Twilight Zone.
Yeah. What, the one with William Shatner? Is it?
There's something on the wing of the plane. She says, if you're not interested in hearing the rest, and starts to leave the table. And Archer says, no, we're interested.
Well, we didn't say that.
So she sits back down and says, well, they realized they couldn't rely on gambling. So we cut back to the past, and we're back in the bar at the Pine Tree Bar, and Tamir is sweeping the floor, and Strawn is doing some plumbing, but he's using his like phaser or some sort of device
He's
or
using a
something
little future tool.
to solder a U-bend pipe instead of doing traditional plumbing because it's not working.
Yeah.
And
to
then
be fair, he tried using the other human tool first.
That's true. He
Then
did.
threw it away, going, "Fuck that! I'm just going to use this."
It's true. It's true. And Mistral has joined the miners underground, so he's doing mining.
949.
And then we get a voiceover of T'Pol saying, but as the weeks passed, it seemed less likely that the distress call had been received, and it became more difficult for them to avoid the humans. And then, still in the bar, we see there's a TV on, and we see a test of a nuclear device, White Sands, and Maggie turns the TV off, and Mistral and Maggie are talking about how the nuclear tests are quite scary. And then Jack shows up and says, do you want to play some pool? And she says no.
How dare he even ask the little shit?
Yeah.
He should know better.
And then they talk about him going to college, that he's got a scholarship.
Part scholarship.
They're still trying to raise money for the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And she lets him play a game.
Game.
One rack.
Yeah, one.
So Tamir, Strawn, and Mistral have gotten an apartment because they got to live somewhere.
Yeah.
And Tamir is browsing through books. Mistral is watching an old Western on the TV. Well, old for us, current for them.
Yeah.
And Strawn walks in saying that this is the third time this week he's had to fix Mrs. Garrett's sink. And Mistral says, perhaps she enjoys your company.
Yeah.
And he replies, it might be tolerable if her son didn't insist on calling me Mo.
Yeah.
So apparently with his hair covering his ears, he looks like one of the Stooges.
Yes. Yes, he does. Very much so.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he says it's intolerable. He's a warp field engineer and fixing plumbing problems and being insulted by kids.
It's not what he's paid for.
It's not okay. Tamir says that the world is on the brink of self-annihilation, so we really need to find a way to construct a subspace transceiver so that we can get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, let's go.
Before they all nuke each other.
Damn humans.
And Mistral talks about how much he likes the humans, basically, that he's fascinated by them, and that he has been observing their behavior and that they have a lot of potential. They have great empathy and compassion. They've made us feel welcome.
Meh. I don't know whether I agree with him.
For that time period or now?
Oh, well, that's a good point. Might have had potential back then. Yeah, fair enough.
But Tamir says they've welcomed us and whatever because they think we're human. I'm not sure that they would be so compassionate if they knew the truth.
That's probably fairly accurate.
It's very
too.
true.
Yeah.
And Mistral stands up to leave and she says, where are you going? He says, to the ship. I need an antenna, a waveform discriminator to enhance the antenna. And she says, maybe you should go after dark. And he says, no, I need to go now. I Love Lucy is on tonight. Fair.
Yeah,
Fair.
absolutely.
And if you're listening out there and you don't know how Lucille Ball is responsible for the success of Star Trek, you need to do some Googling right now because she is very important to the history of Star Trek.
And just history.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, she's wonderful. So he walks out. We cut to the main street and he's walking down the street and then he sort of stops and hangs out for a second and then Maggie drives up in her car and he jumps in and she says, "Hi, you're right on time." And then as they start to drive away, we see that Tamir has followed him outside and sees them drive away together. And then it cuts to commercial. Well,
Yes.
black screen. There's a conversation between Mistral and Maggie. They're kind of like getting to know each other. She kisses him. There's an awkward Vulcan responses. Like, wasn't that an appropriate response?
Yeah, it's all good.
It's fine. It's a good scene.
Yeah, it's nice enough.
But it establishes that they're maybe more interested than just being friends.
Yeah.
And then after they kiss and they have a bit of a chat about it, then they realize that Tamir is standing in the street, probably where we left her,
Yeah.
however long ago, seeing as they've just gone to a baseball match.
Yeah, 5 hours
She's
later.
probably been standing there for 5 or 6 hours just staring, like waiting. And she is just standing, giving them daggers. And he says, "I should go," jumps out, starts walking off, walks past Tamir, and she follows him. Waveform discriminator, huh?
Yeah.
Actually, I went to a baseball game in Doylestown. And she says that you need to not have any contact with her from now on. That's it. You're done. I'm still in command. You are not to have a relationship with this person.
He will not see her again.
And he says, "Command of what? Our mission is over. It's time to accept the fact that we may never leave this world." And then he walks off and she just stares for a second, as they do on television.
Yeah. Stares into nothing.
Yes.
Why everybody tries to decide what they're looking at.
Yes. We cut to the Pine Tree Bar. It is closed, but Tamir is cleaning up and she's blowing out candles. And she stares into one and for some reason stares at it a very long time.
Yeah.
And kind of like doesn't lose focus of the candle as she sort of
Slides it.
picks it up and moves it or like sits down herself and just has this weird fixation on the candle light. And then notices that Jack is standing there.
Yeah.
And he says, "Sorry, I was just going to play some pool. I didn't mean to bother you.
Yeah, because it's
But what are you doing?"
Because mum's not around, which means I can play some pool.
Exactly. Tamir says, "I was about to meditate." And he says, "Really? Are you just trying to clear your mind or reach a higher spiritual plane?" And she looks at him like, "What? What did you say?"
How the fuck do you know those terms?
And he says, "I spend a lot of time at the library." And then they talk about the fact that he does a lot of reading about meditation and mystics and that sort of stuff, but also about astrology, engineering, literature. Sometimes he just picks up a random book and starts reading it just to see.
Nerd.
Yep. And then they talk about Sputnik for a second, and then he leaves, leaving her to the meditation.
Yep.
We cut to the mine, and Billy and Mistral are talking, and he's saying that he's got tickets for the ball game this weekend. Mistral says he can't go, and then they start to talk about it a bit more, but an explosion happens, and there's a big cloud of coal dust. Then we cut to the Vulcan ship. Mistral is looking for a particle weapon, and he's called Tamir and Stron there as well to help. He tells them what he's looking for, and Stron says why, and he explains there's been an accident in the mine. There's at least 20 men trapped. It could take them days to free them without our help. And Tamir says we can't interfere. Mistral says, "But they'll die."
Yeah.
And the other two just stare.
Off into the distance again.
And he says, "You'd let them suffocate even if we could prevent it?" And Stron says, "What if they see the weapon?" "Well, we'll make sure they don't. At best, they live 60 or 70 years. Is it really worth Is it really worth extending their lives just for that?"
Yeah. Like, that's nothing. Come on.
Yeah.
It's a blip.
And Mistral talks about human compassion again. Tamir says that that's an emotion. And he says, "They're my friends. I'm going to help them. Don't try to stop me." Mistral gets the weapon. Tamir decides to help. And she is scanning, giving him directions in the mine, to go a different way to try to get to them out of sight of everyone else. And so she's above ground. Mistral is in the mine, and he shoots a hole in the wall and gets to the miners and is able to save, I think, 12 miners.
Yeah.
We cut back to the future. T'Pol says that after rescuing the miners, Mistral became something of a hero that day. Archer asks, didn't people wonder how he got them out? And she says, I'm sure they did, but no one ever discovered the truth. After 3 months, and then we cut back to the past, but the voiceover still continues. Mm-hmm. And just as they had resigned themselves to the fact that in all likelihood they would never leave Earth, and then we see them all sitting around in the apartment, and a communicator starts beeping from inside a cupboard, and they open it, and they're talking to Captain Talus of a Vulcan survey ship that's responding to the distress signal. Tamir says, we thought it wasn't transmitted. And he says, well, it was received by a Tellarite freighter. It took them some time to pass a message on to High Command, but we'll be there in 3 days, so meet us at the crash site. Mistral and Tamir look at each other like, we're gonna have to talk about this, aren't we?
Yeah.
There's gonna be a problem.
Suck.
There's gonna be a problem.
Crap.
We cut to outside the Pine Tree bar, and Tamir is sweeping leaves. Jack pulls up in Maggie's car and says, I hear you're leaving. I think he's got a bit of a crush on her.
Yeah, he certainly gives that impression.
And she says, yes, that's correct. He says he's going to miss them because they're the most interesting people they've met in the town. Mm-hmm. And she says, I'm sure you'll meet lots of interesting people at college. And he says, I'm not going.
Nope.
And she looked surprised. She had a surprised look on her face for a Vulcan. And she says, what? Why not? And he says that they couldn't come up with the rest of the money. The deadline is this Friday. And she says, well, what are you going to do instead? He says, I guess I'll keep saving. You know, Mum doesn't want me to work in the mine, but where else am I going to work? It's Carbon Creek.
Yeah, and it's probably all right money.
Yeah. Maybe I can reapply next year, and maybe I'll get the scholarship again next year, but maybe not. There's no guarantee. Otherwise, I'll just keep reading my books in the library and do whatever. But Maggie's been listening at the door, and she says something about him getting the highest scores or something in the county.
Yeah, which makes no sense, right? To me, made no sense.
Well, you know, nothing really makes sense to you.
Highest scores in the he gets the highest scores
you get weird
in the county.
shit. You just
highest scores in the county, and he gets a partial, not a full scholarship.
In the county, yes.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
In the county, and he gets a partial scholarship.
That's correct. We cut to Mia on the wrecked Vulcan ship, and she's searching for something, and then she must eventually find it because she grabbed something,
yeah.
And then she gets on a train. So we see her on a train holding a bag, and then we see her walking in a busy city street, and she walks into a building called the Bad Creek Manufacturing and Sales Company. There's a businessman in there who says, so, you're the lady with the invention that's going to change the world, huh? See?
Well done. Good on you.
She reaches into her bag and pulls out like a little pouch that's, you know, made of Velcro or something.
Yeah, it had a Velcro.
And she demonstrates how it works and then hands it to him, and he tries it for a few times, and then he gets this greedy look on his face like,
this is the best shit ever.
And then she walks out with a fuck ton of money.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is nothing compared to what he's going to make.
No, nothing at all. So just like Star Trek 4, they deliver something from the future to the past.
Yeah.
We cut back to the Pine Tree Bar, and Maggie walks in, yells out good morning, and then goes to the bar and sees all the money that Tamir just got in the college fund jar, the tip jar there that they've been collecting money for Jack. And she excitedly yells out for Jack. Then we cut to the Vulcan's apartment. Tamir is washing up, Mistral is sweeping the floor, and Strawn is working on something.
Still.
And Tamir says, didn't you terminate your employment? And he says, yes, but I promised Mrs. Garrett I'd repair this suction device. Mistral says it's unfortunate that you'll be leaving these people without experiencing one thing they have to offer. And Strawn says, such as alcohol, frozen fish sticks, or the constant threat of nuclear annihilation.
Yeah, I'm gonna love it. I'm really gonna miss the place.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sounds terrible.
Yeah, I'm really distraught.
Mistral says that there's so much more to them. You just refuse to see it. And then they talk back and forth for a little bit, but ultimately he says, I'm staying. Yeah. I want to stay. I don't want to stay in Carbon Creek forever. It's not about Maggie. I want to go to another city. I want to see and learn as much as I can. These people are fascinating, basically.
Yeah, they're on the, brink of change or whatever he said.
Yeah.
Whatever his words were, but it was pretty cool.
That's right. Then we cut to the crash site, and another Vulcan ship is coming into land, and Tamir tells them that everyone is dead except for her and Strawn.
Yeah.
Says that the Mistral died in the crash as well as the captain, and we cremated their remains.
Yeah. It's just me and Mo.
We cut back to the future, and Trip is saying that you do realize you've just rewritten our history books. And she says, a footnote at best.
Yeah. It's a nothing.
He says, a footnote? This is like finding out Neil Armstrong wasn't the first man to walk on the moon. And she says, perhaps he wasn't. And he's like, oh my God. He just freaks out. Archer asks how long Mistral stayed on Earth. And Paul says, presumably the rest of his life.
What's that, 100, 150 years?
Yeah, that's right. And Trip says, so an alien is left on Earth in the 1950s, lives through, 30 presidents, travels the world and no one notices him? And what happened when he finally kicked the bucket? Did the Undertaker just shrug and ignore the ears? They talk a bit longer, but basically she alludes that it was a story.
You asked me
and
to tell
that
a
it's
story.
Not real. And she went to Carbon Creek because she's a geologist. She also went to Yellowstone Park and Carlsbad Caverns. So, think what you will.
Yeah.
And then she goes back to her room and she is going to meditate, and she takes something out of the cupboard, and it's the handbag that Tamir had in the past. And that's the end of the episode. Why the fuck would she have that
I
there?
don't know. I got no idea. I don't know why she'd have it on board. I don't know why that would be the thing that she holds on to. I don't know why. I just don't know any of why that would be a thing.
Okay, good.
I got none. I got no answer for you there. I thought the same thing. I was like, what the fuck?
I was like, clearly they wanted to make it so that we knew that it was real.
Of course.
Anyway, but now that we talked through it, what did you think?
Yeah, it's really good. It's a good episode. It's sort of, I like it because it brings up a lot of those sort of, questions about, should you mix with an alien race? How much contamination are you going to have? All that kind of stuff. What would you do in that situation? So on and so on. And I like all those sort of things when it comes to watching sci-fi and stuff. So it was good. It was enjoyable.
And the life lesson?
Probably the main one would be...
Don't contaminate the culture.
Probably an odd one for Vulcans, but maybe follow your heart. Yeah, maybe that. Follow your heart, I would say. Like, he stayed behind because he felt like he had to and was connected and all that kind of stuff. Well, I don't know. That's about all I got.
Probably being helpful and doing what you can to help those around you.
Yeah.
Because the humans were nice and welcomed them in and gave them jobs and all those sorts of things. And then they repaid that by saving the miners and getting the money for the college fund. So, give and take, I guess.
Yeah.
So helping people who help you and creating that sense of community is important.
Yeah.
Okay. IMDb rating time. Our examples of 1 episodes of Voyager's Threshold and Next Gen's Code of Honor and Section 31. Examples of 10 episodes of Next Gen's Tapestry and Deep Space Nine's Far Beyond the Stars. With that in mind, what are we rating this episode?
I'm going to go fairly high.
I would say this might be the closest that Enterprise gets to a 10.
Yeah, I'd be going
I
up
don't
there.
think it's a 10.
No, it's not a 10.
But I think this is the closest that it gets.
Well, yeah, I'd be saying pretty high of an 8 or a 9. So, yeah.
We've got quite a few 8s. We've got 1 9 so far, and that is Dear Doctor. Is this as good as Dear Doctor?
It might just be on par, because I could rewatch it. It is quite good. I might, yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
it's on par
Yeah,
with
I
Dear
could
Doctor.
probably go to a Dear Doctor episode. So, yeah, 9 would be
A 9.
acceptable.
Look at that. What a good start to season 2.
Yeah.
We've got an 8 and a 9.
Yeah, let's hope it stays that way.
All right. That's it for the week. If you want to get in touch, you can find us on Facebook at Temporal Directive Podcast and on Instagram, just Temporal Directive. Or you can email us at wakefield_productions@outlook.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Carbon Creek or anything Star Trek related. We'd love to hear from you. Next week, we'll be back with the episode Minefield. Live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.